This is the Bull Mountain Brothers podcast.
I just wanted to take a moment of your time to talk to you about one of our sponsors, F&H Contracting and Fence, located in Billings, Montana. If you're looking to spruce up your yard or want a little more privacy for them summer backyard barbecues, or maybe you just need part of your fence repaired, contact our friends at F&H Contracting and Fence by texting 406-661-7484. From front yards to farmyards and even chain link to vinyl, they've got you covered. Now back to the action.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
This is the B&B Network, and you're listening to the 57th podcast of the Bull Mountain Brothers. Boys,
wow.
What is going on?
Wow. That's all I have to say.
I know. I am literally like
still in
shaken
shock.
to the bone.
Wired.
The last, we talk, and this is kind of getting, what's it called? Repetitive, where we talk about,
words are hard.
Yeah, especially we've been here a little while tonight. We talk about how there's evolutions of our adventure here, right? And there's been excitement times, and there's been this and that. The last 2 weeks going forward, this thing has taken and turned itself into a monster. Maybe not quite a monster, maybe a Sasquatch.
It's a snowball effect.
Why do you go from a monster to a Sasquatch?
I just feel like
what's the tier there? I mean,
I think it starts with like a chupacabra.
This is the Bull Mountain Brothers snowball.
What do you mean?
And his snowball headed down the hill.
It's not that. Okay. Now I get the metaphor. So what point at the hill are we?
No. See, if you think about it, as the snowball rolls, it gets bigger, right? And as it gets bigger, things start moving faster. I understand your question, Sean.
Aggressive.
Stop being aggressive. But anyway.
But do you guys not disagree that all of a sudden it's like all these dominoes, like all these structures that we've put in place over the last year and it's been going on a year and a half, are starting to like build into something crazy?
Crazy is a
maybe we're not to the crazy point yet, but we're to the point where like
no, it's crazy. It's
we're
at the moment
we're scratching the surface.
No, it's at the moment we're at right now. It's crazy to us because I mean, who's to say what's going to be crazy to us in 5 years? We don't know,
or even a year. I mean, this thing because we're talking
craziness is relative to where you're at.
As you guys kind of know now, when we do I guess we'll just burn it now. We did an interview tonight. It was amazing. Probably I easily would put it in our top 5 list of favorite podcasts we've ever done.
I kind of like our idea on how we do these interviews because clearly, like when we do it's a Zoom interview. When we do those, obviously the people aren't in studio, so we're not gonna. And most of the time, they end up being, at an earlier point than what we would typically have an in studio guest come. So, with our jobs and things like that, we can't show up 2 hours early and bust an intro out. But I like how I really do kind of like how we're doing this because we get here, 45 minutes before we have the Zoom meeting posted. And then essentially we get everything set up, camera check, sound check, all that. And then essentially just go right into the interview because we don't want to waste their time in wherever they are.
It makes it more efficient for the guest.
Right. And like wherever they are geographically, it doesn't matter. And so it's cool. I kind of like this, how we're doing this.
Well, I like it too, because we're 3 minutes in right now and we can advertise exactly what we did. And, if it sucked, we can tell you if it sucked. But
I honestly, if you think about it though, if we were to do these before,
we do our due diligence to make sure they're not going to suck.
Though. Yeah.
But if we were to do these, like the intro actually before, and we have no idea what to talk about with it, like most of the time with these Zoom, the 2 Zoom meetings we've done, we've never met these people and and
what I think was lucky for us too is the last 2 Zoom calls. Well, the only 2 Zoom calls we've ever done have been with people that are very fluent speaking and like obviously have been in that atmosphere before.
And it helps a lot because I really do feel like if we did our intros before, it'd be very hard to be like, oh, so, we have John Doe coming on and, he does this. And
at the same time, you have the person in the meeting. You're like, hey, you want to just sit for 15 to 30 minutes while we do this and then get bored of it?
Yeah, right. I don't know. Where was I going with this? Why did I bring that up? Basically... Oh man, I was going on a tangent with it, but essentially, are you good? Oh, you guys need a refill over there?
You
Sorry.
just keep doing it. When the camera switches, don't worry about what's going on over here.
It's just like the stuff that's happening in the last like 2 weeks is just like blowing. I literally sit home at night. I get on the computer and I start working on a little bit of our stuff. And
While you're at it, hand me that koozie. Would you?
Give him that koozie.
sorry, I gotta get rid of this.
Jeez.
Bull Mountain Brothers energy drink here.
Yeah. G stands for Bull Mountain Brothers.
Bull Mountain Gangsters.
Oh, he
God,
fell
you
off
guys,
the
you
train
guys.
hard.
The wagon is down.
Oh my god. Oh no, I'm just literally like shaking with like excitement for what we're gonna like April.
Do that face again. That's not excitement. That's like
That's constipation.
that's constipation.
I think that like the things like April is why April? April in my life has never been anything of importance ever.
Easter, dude.
May, you got Memorial Weekend, you could go camping. There was always like
This guy doesn't like Easter baskets.
I guess not.
April has never been an exciting month for me. And for some reason, in the history of Bull Mountain Brothers, April will be the most insane month of our entire existence up to date.
For sure.
Well, it's not April yet.
I know. It's what is it? March
22nd?
20 seconds.
So it's March 22nd.
If you're watching this,
Let's
it's the 24th.
just run through the things that
20.
we know that we can talk about right now. First of all, March 25th, we are closing down the website. Website
Fifth.
is going to be 25th. Unavailable. I don't know what Sean's trying to say. Can you just tell me what you're trying to say, Sean?
That's what I was trying to say.
Oh, he wants to see all of us. Starting March 25th, the website will be closed for 2 weeks. That is directly correlated to the fact that it's not a rebrand. I mean, we kind of had that. We kind of did a rebrand when we started the whole YouTube video stuff.
I feel like we can say it at this point.
It's a rebrand.
It's not a rebrand. I feel like we can express details in a sense.
You want to talk about it?
I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to describe it in a sense.
Okay, well, hit me up then.
What, the website?
No. What was the phone call we just had before we started?
I know,
this?
but
I'm not going to go into full depth on that.
Oh.
But what I'm saying is,
we don't know what you're saying. So
I have
just
no
as well
idea what this
say
guy's
it.
saying right
so
If you can't tell, this interview really got us hyped up. Now we're all just
Yeah,
hyped
no,
for
I'm like,
shit.
no.
Adrenaline
Anyway,
rush.
so the
This is
rebranding.
my Michael Jordan flu game.
It's
right
worth
now.
the couple hours you're going to spend watching it.
As I was saying, the in a sense,
you?
this rebranding, it's not a false statement because we have some incredible.
I feel like I need.
Gosh,
to
I
go
don't want to
closer
say
on
it now.
Sean
I don't want to say it now.
It's okay. It takes away the suspense.
I know.
Everything you've just built up to at this point, and now you're not going to say it is kind of.
It's kind of like
kind of a
every
tease.
TikTok video ever, though. You ever watch it? What's that? People that were like famous on
You are
Facebook?
spewing clickbait out of your mouth
Yeah,
right now.
I know. Like, there's just people that like they make those TikTok videos, and you like it's like boiling up to see the.
And then they
it's
just
people that have
cut
like
it.
8-part videos.
Yeah, and then it doesn't actually happen. But anyway, the rebranding in a sense is
Don't be
not.
that guy.
It's not false because we have done something that we've never done before. We have essentially built. How do I say this vaguely? We have built.
A sub company
A
within
new
the company.
face.
Us-
We got a facelift.
Yeah, we did get but it's not.
But not really.
Not
Because we're
really.
keeping the old. We're keeping the old logo. Like when you think of Bull Mountain Brothers, you still think of what's on Sean Ramsey's hat right now. That's what we are. That's Bull Mountain Brothers Incorporated. That's what that is.
For sure.
But the podcast has its own vision. Its own. It's taking. So the podcast and what we're Bull Mountain Brothers are taking like a.
Ricky Bobby over
like
here
when
with his
Sean doesn't like
hands.
when I'm using my hands, but I have to do this. Bull Mountain Brothers. Let's just say Bull Mountain. We had a square.
I didn't
Right?
think that was going to show up so well.
Bull Mountain Brothers was everything inside that square. Now there's a couple little rectangles coming out of the square. This is too.
We're branching out.
Why
No,
are you
I'm just-
using piss poor shapes?
I'm not using good shapes at all. Essentially, what we're doing is Bull Mountain Brothers is the mothership, and let's just use a cruise ship.
Okay. No, I like the mothership reference better.
Yeah.
A bunch of when you have a bunch of little ships inside the mothership that are coming out of
When
it.
a mommy ship and a daddy ship love each other.
So the podcast has left Bull Mountain Brothers as the face of Bull Mountain Brothers, and it has turned into its own little ship, and it's going to have its own little face. It's going to have its own little It's going to be its own entity. And then there's another ship that's coming out at the same time. What do I do with my
I don't know what to do with my
Sorry.
hands.
It's a square. It's a square right there.
Bull Mountain Brothers is turning into the media company that's always promised to be. It is, when you think of Bull Mountain Brothers, you think of a media company as a whole. You don't think of the Bull Mountain Brothers podcast only. That's what I'm trying to get at here. We're starting new business adventures within the company, essentially, under the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Just different looks and stuff for, let's just give an example that's not true. If we started our own hockey club, or hockey stick.
Nope.
Sorry.
What?
Hockey puck.
No.
What are you going for here?
Moving on.
What do you call the things you hit the stick? Hockey stick, right?
Sure.
If we started our own hockey stick company, it would be the Bull Mountain Brothers Hockey Stick Company. But it wouldn't be like, in the podcast. Does that make sense?
Coming
No.
soon, Beaumont Brothers Hockey Sticks.
I don't know why I came up with hockey. I've never played or done anything with hockey my entire life, but it just came on to me.
Let me just jump in here because Riley is going off train here. Essentially, what he's saying is that we have Beaumont Brothers is always going to be the main name that you hear revolving around anything we do, and we have multiple future ideas that are going to come to fruition. That's what I said. Essentially, what he's getting at is we have something coming sooner than we thought. I would say definitely sooner than we thought. We've had previous meetings figuring out details on this stuff.
There's been hours and hours and hours put into this.
So to prolong this a little more,
You're just going to have to watch and find out.
Well, it's just look at it this way. The website's coming back April 3rd. At that point, everything should become out in the open. Everything should be dropped. There's the thing Sean's talking about. There's another thing that's coming out at the same time, involving another essentially thing that we can do to give back to the listeners. Was that what you would say, Sean?
yeah, I would.
Bigger than anything we've ever done. Way more awesome than anything we've ever done. Sean's excited about it personally. It's like something he's very passionate about, kind of.
I've kind of had this idea since the beginning, and it's really cool because I feel like the sky's the limit for the ideas that we come up with, because some of them are just like astronomical ideas. But this was kind of, ask me 11 months ago, this was astronomical to even think about. And now it's happening.
Yeah.
So,
Well, look at it this way too. I mean, when we did the turkey hunt last year, we all hated doing it. And this year it's done better. It's done enough in a way that we'll probably do it again. Essentially, It's not like blowing us out of the water, but we're going to be able to give Starlight a good chunk of change, as far as donation, which is like, I mean, this has been the most fun I've had in the last 4 months is starting to partner with all of these.
with Reed, I mean, yeah, it's been
with a bunch of different people within the community, as well as like
Starlight.
nonprofits and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
And with the continuous comments of how we've kind of done things where they kind of go, they go through the motion, and then we find out, if we want to do them again, what we are making the most suspenseful thing that any of you listening are ever going to hear in your entire lives will not ever stop. This is the start, and the end is to be determined. Never going to end. This whole concept that we are coming up with and have came up with and are about to offer you is never ever going to, the advancements, the work we put into it, it's only going to get better from this point on. It's something that we had a lot of passion towards, revolving around our media company. I mean, I can't say that, I'd give it away, but more things are coming through Bull Mountain Brothers and where we want to get to.
Well, it's also streamlining another. Our biggest passion ever is getting streamlined through this beginning stepping stone.
I feel like We're
being such assholes right now. Just be like, oh, we're gonna do
What
this.
the hell are you talking about? That's what everybody's saying.
Listen, should we just stop talking about it right now?
Yeah.
And-
probably.
yeah. Well, we're gonna stop talking about it right now. Just know that April 3rd. I don't know that beginning of April time. Stuff's gonna fly.
Day of your life.
I can say, I guess, one thing that we're working on right now that I can drop. I believe the end of April. The date that's tentatively picked out but not concrete is April 22nd. We will be having a booth at, I believe, the Squire Lounge, somewhere we were just at recently. We've started to develop quite a good relationship with the owner there. He's an awesome guy, really is as passionate about helping the community as we are. But there's going to be some sort of booth situation. We might do a live podcast. Not sure yet. Stay tuned for that kind of advertising once we get it concrete. But I will tell you right now what we're working for. Big news for that is make sure you to come out because there's going to be an awesome prize available. As far as obviously you're going to have to put in. It's not a raffle, but it is a raffle. You come down,
An auction.
you purchase tickets to get in, right? So you're gonna.
Auction.
I think it's gonna be like $5. I think Matt talked today. It's gonna be like $5 for one ticket, or 20 tickets gives you 5 entries or whatever. And it's only at this. You can only buy it at this location. You're gonna get in for a drawing for, what?
Just kidding.
Oh, he wants me to be suspenseful again. I don't think this one needs to be suspenseful. This one needs to be advertised because it's important. I think it's a one.
You right as you say it.
I think it's going to be a 1 day. I think it's 1 day float trip on the Bighorn. I think that's what Matt's doing. It's a fishing trip for a float on the Horn. Matt's going to host it. It's going to be awesome. It's I want to say probably a $500 value, something like that. $750 value. I can't remember. But essentially, we're going to take all the proceeds from that. Nothing's going towards us. It's all going towards, I believe it's called Shot in the Dark. I'm going to, once we get some advertising up, I'm gonna be. Let me look it up because I don't want to be wrong.
Goes to his phone when he has a laptop right in front of him.
Hold on,
It
I got
doesn't
an
actually
email
work.
here.
The only 2 laptops that
You guys are just gonna have to talk for me.
We are gonna make fun of you.
All right, I got
It's
the
like
email here.
95%, 5%,
So the company is. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Out of the Darkness community
80-20.
community walks.
20%.
It is a suicide prevention. Basically a company that deals with. You guys are really gonna talk over me when I'm talking about this right now.
Okay,
Sorry.
go.
It's Out of the Darkness community walks. They deal with.
Oh, okay.
We good? Anyways, all the proceeds for this is going to go to Out of the Darkness. Again, it's a suicide prevention nonprofit, local one. So that's really cool for us. And again, we'll give all the proceeds to that. We'll have merchandise available for sale at this booth. Hopefully it's going to.
Don't do it.
That's another big thing that's coming.
Yeah,
That's
we
all I'm
haven't
gonna say
touched
about
on
that.
that yet.
Sorry. We're going to continue on that. So yeah, I can. We give that up. God, what else do we got going on? This Saturday, the 25th.
Tomorrow, if you're listening to this, or no, it'd be
If you're listening to the audio version, tomorrow.
no, today, our audio version tomorrow.
Yes.
Video
I
version
had it right.
today.
Jesus,
Are you
Ramsey.
Skyview Education? It's hard.
Okay, well, settle down, Sean.
Okay.
Kids.
Hold on. Just keep going.
I
I'll
think
figure
we're
it
a
out.
heart attack over here. Hold on.
You should just leave it like that, Ramsey.
Fuck you, Sean.
What's your mouth?
Just keep talking.
You are destruction. You're destruction to our best podcast ever. Thank you.
I think it adds a little bit of pizzazz.
Just touch your buttons and be quiet. Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you for that. Yeah, so this Saturday, Saturday the 25th. Jesus, Ramsey. Is our turkey drawing. Is our turkey hunt raffle drawing. Basically, we're out of the blue. We got the opportunity to do it live at a location. We're back at the High Horse. How do we have it figured out? 6:30 p.m.
Is when we will be at location at 6:30.
Well, I think we'll be. I have it. We'll be there a little bit earlier than that. 4:30, I think.
Okay. But
Tickets stop at 6:30. You cannot purchase a ticket no longer once 6:30 hits.
right, and then so essentially we're going to be there and trying to get out these last minute tickets, things like that.
So what's the vibe? You come buy tickets till 6:30 and then have dinner.
Have dinner, have a beer, whatever, have a drink, and then 7:30 we are going. It's going to be live in person, obviously, because we're there. But then also we're going to do is the same as we did on the first annual. Well, not first annual, but the first. We're going to be live on, I believe, YouTube.
Yeah, I think we'll be live on YouTube, but we can share it to Facebook, so you'll be able to see us on.
Because last year it was just
even possibly do a live with TikTok.
We could do a live TikTok, but we'd have to have someone's phone set up, which is not a problem.
That's super easy.
But a little different than we did last year. We weren't on as many platforms last year as we currently are. So it's gonna be a big production in a way. I mean, it's about as much we can do about as much as we can, if that makes sense. I mean, I know that is very vague, but we're just the third party, we haven't quite nailed down who the third party that we're gonna have draw yet. It's gonna be we'll figure that out here.
Well, there should be 100 people to choose from inside the bar.
We'll have
Might be
the
a
same
bartender,
we'll have the same, I don't know where it is. Oh, it's laying on the ground over there, our little tumbler.
Made in
Riley's
China.
favorite Amazon purchase ever.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and we'll have a third party figure pull the drawing, and
Sean tried to push for us hosting a trivia there that night.
I did,
but he had already purchased. So once you're done with us at 7:30, stick around. There's a DJ dance floor situation going on. Basically live DJ music, food and drinks available. So check that out. We don't really get to host anything crazy, but we're just there to do the drawing. So if you're in the area, come check it out. Oh, what's the biggest thing about this? What do we have to offer?
Sean, go grab him.
Yeah.
Go be our Vanna White.
I will.
Can we show him?
Yeah.
Should we?
Go be our Vanna White. You already.
Can you mute me? Matt's calling me.
This is a limited.
Just kidding. Don't do that. Don't do that.
This is a limited, one-time
The most
turkey only hat. There's 2 of them that we have come up with. Let's just. I'm gonna get up and.
I'll do some more talking for you. There's 20 hats available, 10 in each color. Basically, they are only going to be available for purchase ever this Saturday at the High Horse. What we figured out is we're doing them for a event cost, so they're going to be cheaper than any hat. You're not going to be able to go get Richardson's like this at just any point. This is our favorite one. Ooh, what a money looking. Is that a gold or a tan? What would you say that is?
Tilt it down.
It's like a goldish color. That's our favorite one. That one's badass. And then we've got the B&B classic olive green on a, what is that? Is that a gray heather hat or whatever? Yeah. So these are going to be at like an awesome event price of $20. You can't get a Richardson hat like that for $20 anywhere. Unless you have it with no logo on it. Oh, Sean wants to. He's wearing. You can't just look at the TV and hope that you're going to see yourself. It's not a mirror. So yeah, $20 is the cost if you just want a hat. But if you come in, you spend $100, which is 3 tickets worth. We're just going to give it to you for free.
And at that point, you're getting $40 worth of stuff for free.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a win-win. So it's a way we can get more money in the pocket of Starlight, more hats out in the crowd. But come check it out. Awesome hats. And we got to get a shout out. Creative Monograms here locally in Billings, Montana. I called them on Sunday. I said, listen, we ran out of hats last weekend. We need something for our customers. We need something for our listeners come this turkey raffle. And they came through big time. Overnight, we got these hats. So thank you. Shout out to Heather at Creative Monograms.
You guys
big
are the
thank
best.
you.
They did great.
So I think we've run down. This is gonna be a 2.5 hour podcast.
This interview is insane. I really am excited to.
It is worth the
offer
watch,
this,
100%.
Offer this to our listeners and everything. I mean, this is one of our favorite moments that we've had throughout the B&B podcast. Very interesting individual, and I think you guys are really gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, I think if you're interested in the outdoors, you can't get any better with learning about this company. We were baffled in a lot of ways. We like I said, we were kind of like, I kind of feel embarrassed that I didn't do more research, because what I thought they were was only a small
skosh.
percentage of what they really are.
For sure.
So check it out. I'm just gonna say right now, check out RightOnTrek. We talked about it at the end of the podcast, but RightOnTrek on Instagram, Facebook. Go to their website. If you're an outdoorsman, if you're a backpacker, go check them out. Listen to this interview. I think that's all we've got.
Yeah.
And for our YouTube listeners, make sure you hit that little subscribe button down there.
Absolutely. Like and subscrib. Check out all
Hit
of our
that
socials.
bell.
Yeah, hit that
Yeah,
subscription
hit the
bell. What are we, a bunch of LA influencers? But yeah, check out this interview right now. Thanks, guys. Today we are here with the owner and operator of RightOnTrek, Victoria Livschitz. Victoria, how are you?
Oh, I'm wonderful. How are you guys doing? Thank you for having me.
We're doing great. Let's just get right into it right now.
Yeah.
And first of all, I think that the most important thing for our listeners right now is to know, what is RightOnTrek and why do we even have you on here today? What is RightOnTrek all about?
That's a great question. So RightOnTrek is a young company. You could say we're still startup in early stages with big dreams to open up the great outdoors to participation of a lot more people that want to do more in the outdoors but don't for a variety of reasons. And so we're looking at it as reducing the barriers to get out, have epic adventures, enjoy themselves, enjoy amazing time with friends and family, away from cities, away from screens, but also, and it's really, really critical, do it in a sustainable way. Do it responsibly, go have epic adventures, and come back bringing nothing but memories and footprints. And so a big part of our mission is enabling people to go and have wonderful time, in the wilderness or outdoor recreation areas, but at the same time also enabling and educating them of how to do that with environmental responsibility in mind.
That's awesome. What do you offer as far as product goes with the company?
Well, so the story is changing because we have the ultimate vision of what we want to offer, which is very comprehensive and multi-step, and then we are making baby steps towards it. So it's very much the story that's been written in baby steps. But if you look at what we are offering now, we have 3 product lines. One which is most mature and most people know about us through our adventure meal product line. We've created kind of new way for people to eat in the wilderness. And we manufacture all of food here in northern Montana, where company's headquarters are, 40 minutes away from Glacier National Park. And essentially, outdoorsmen have been relegated in the last few, decades probably, to mostly eating freeze-dry meals, rehydrated out of the foil packages. And while you can eat that's certainly not good for your diet and not good for environment, and it's just not a really good way to eat in the wilderness. So we've created a much healthier alternative where you can cook food essentially fresh using backcountry stove, same equipment that you would have in the backcountry with you when you are boiling water for tea or to rehydrate your meals, but instead of boiling the water and putting it in a pouch, letting it stay for 10, 15, 20 minutes to rehydrate, you essentially use active heat to put your pot with boiling water, and then use sort of a cooking kit from RightOnTrek. Open the pouch, put the content in the boiled water. It only takes 3 to 5 minutes for the majority of recipes. It is actually faster to cook it on the trail than it is to rehydrate. But because we are using active heat and quick cooking ingredients, the food cooks completely fresh from scratch. And so the impact is kind of night and day. So it's been, we have a family of products, 10 dinners and 6 breakfasts. And we've started producing them and selling them last year. And they've been kind of flying off the shelves. We should be in every one of the 50 states by the end of this year, or come very, very close. It's gotten rave reviews from anybody from backpackers, long distance hikers, hunters, fishermen, rangers, firefighters. So we're really excited that we've sort of found the right way to feed people in the wilderness.
So one thing that I noticed that you guys do differently than some of your competitors is you guys offer like different size of meals. It's not like just the one package is kind of what I saw on your website when I was clicking through, is like you can buy, is it like the 1-person meal and then you're up to like the 2 and then into the 4?
Yeah, we have four sizings. There's basically for 1 person, for 2 people, or for a group of 4 people. Also, the sizings are very, very different. Our food is engineered in every sense of this word to be completely balanced, not only with respect to nutrition and your macros and the quality of food you would more likely encounter in a trendy restaurant than in a pouch. But also calories count a great deal. It is very often that our 1P meal will have very similar calorie count to what other competitors like Mountain House would position as a 2P meal. So they're much, much more filling. That's another differentiator. And I would also say the third one, and it's huge, is actually the packaging itself. We are the first company to figure out how to do the fully bio-based and home compostable packaging. It's ultra light. It combusts very cleanly. So if you're putting up any sort of a campfire, you could just burn it very cleanly. It's super light, so it doesn't weigh almost anything. So you're not actually carrying kind of a soiled heavy metal pouches after the food you've consumed from something like Mountain House. But if you bring it back, you can compost it, home compost it. It consists of 3 layers of plastic, if you will, and 2 out of the 3 are fully compostable. The third one today is not, but there's a new plastic substitute on the roadmap where within 2 to 3 years, we believe that we can make our packaging completely 100% home compostable post-consumption. This is kind of a really big deal. And it's a nice bonus, if you will, of buying foods with us.
I think that that's really cool to hear, because we actually had a guest on about 3 weeks ago who owns a fly fishing company, and all of his clothing is based on like environmental friendly bamboo, stuff like that. And it's cool to hear that there's more local companies that are really focused towards, because us all as outdoorsmen, we want to be able to do this forever. And to be able to do that, you need to, protect our environment.
Absolutely. This goes back to what I said. Our mission is to put a lot more people in the outdoors, but also do it so that the environmental impact of all of it is dramatically smaller. And if you look at where outdoors recreation industry innovation is, it's in the sustainability more than any other aspect. If you walk the floors of the outdoor retailer conference this year, it's all about sustainability. And by the way, for our packaging and our products and our meals, we've been selected as the top 50 nominees of the Product of the Year award from the outdoor retailer. So this is just a really, really big and important trend, and we're leading the charge there. So that's first product line, and it's the one that is sort of most ready. You can buy our meals on, in our store at RightOnTrek.com. You can buy it in a lot of different stores throughout the West today in Montana, Wyoming, Utah, now Colorado, California. But we are also getting into a lot of other stores. There are several REIs that are starting to carry our products. We are in discussion with some other big box outdoors retailers to carry our meals. So that's kind of the first exciting success story, I would say, of the singular product. The next piece, the next service line, and we are just getting started on it. We are piloting it, and the way we bring products to market, consistent with my personal experience as the serial entrepreneur. We could talk a little bit about that later, but I have experience building over 12 companies over the years of all sorts. So I brought a lot of products to market in my lifetime. The way you do it is that you prove that the market needs what you're building, and you iterate relentlessly until you kind of nailed it. And we did it with meals. It took us over 4 years to make sure that we found the right formula. And now we're doing it with the second piece of enablement, and that is the technical gear. And it is particularly focusing on 3 target markets: on people who are backpacking, people who are camping, like car camping, or coming to rent a Jeep or have the overlander type of equipment, and they wanna camp, and so they need a really good camping gear, or they want like a day packing kit, something that would have a backpack, something that would have maybe a stove that they can take for a picnic with them. All the utensils, like the stuff the cooler stuff that you would want to have for a day. So this equipment traditionally isn't really readily accessible on a rental basis. If you are new to backpacking and you wanted to try to go backpacking somewhere, Yellowstone, Yosemite, Glacier National Park, the barrier of entry is huge. It's very multifaceted. One of them is access to technical gear. You need to drop something around $1,500 per person, just to get, and that's a kind of a, low stake, if you will, to get somewhat modern, somewhat light equipment. That's a big bar. We believe that technical gear should just be a commodity. It should be able to rent it near, nearest recreation area. And we're starting by building essentially a combination of the inventory for rental plus essentially equivalent of what you would think in the cities as smart lockers. We call them wilderness lockers. So the story goes, and the first one is launching this summer here in northern Montana in a proximity of Glacier National Park, available to 3 million visitors who are coming here to recreate every year. You can go online on RightOnTrek.com. You can set up essentially what kind of gear you want, sizes and models and the type of gear. And do you want to, 2 1P tents or 1 2P tent or 4P tent for a family or whatever the case might be. Select the dates when you need it and put your order in place. And then you land in a Glacier National Airport, and then you drive to what we call the edge of the wilderness. That's sort of a smart lockers installation. And you have a code, and everything that you've ordered is kind of waiting for you. So you walk in, you check out, you pick up your stuff. You can pick up all the other things that you need, for example, food, first aid kit, bear sprays, gas, maps. So you buy all the things that you actually need. You pick up the stuff that you've pre-ordered. You go have a wonderful time, and on the way back, you just drop whatever you don't need, and off you go. And as I said, we are piloting our first concept of the Wilderness Edge and the equipment rental here this year, and we'll probably do it for a couple of years. But if it goes well and we prove out the model, the big idea is to have that near every national park. There's one near Yosemite and Mammoth Lakes and Grand Canyon and Yellowstone, Aspen, right? You name it. And if we can get there, then the model becomes active family who loves to recreate. They just have their profile on RightOnTrek.com, and they can go and find the next great adventure that they want to do. And they already know what they need, and we know what they need. So 5 clicks, they've reserved everything they need. They just pick the nearest location where we have wilderness lockers. They drive to it, pick up stuff they need, go have fun and drop it off and go to the next vacation somewhere else. Does that make sense?
That is,
that's amazing.
That's a super
that is
cool idea.
Incredibly brilliant. I mean, the hardest part I would say about you're recreating, whether it's camping, hiking, hiking up to a lake in the mountains and maybe popping a tent up for the night.
Yep.
The hardest part about it is having to make sure you've packed everything. And in that instance,
That's right.
somebody else is almost doing it for you. And the ease of it. I mean, I could see that, especially with where your guys' locations you're thinking of, like outside of national parks and things like that. Yep. That could boost the numbers of people that come and check out these national parks.
That's how I think about it.
Yeah.
I think that we really are going to lower the barrier for people. This is back to, we ask what we are trying to do in the big dream. Lots and lots of people want to do this. I mean, I have all these friends that I will casually ask, what are they planning to do for the summer? And they'll get these dreamy eyes and says, we were thinking about doing XYZ. We really want to take our kids camping. But then they end up not doing it because the logistics is just insane.
Right.
So we are thinking of like price point for the latest, greatest, ultralight modern equipment, down to, I don't know, Patagonia sleeping bags and satellite navigators and the less trendiest, backpacks, the old, light setup that again will take you well over $1,000 to go try to put together. $50 per person per day.
Wow,
right?
that's crazy.
That is incredible.
At the price points like that, it should just be a sort of a no-brainer commodity.
Yeah, and I think that we can relate on a lot of realms here as hunters, outdoorsmen, fishermen. When we talk about gear, where it's you think about, and I'll ask you this, Sean, like think about how much you spent on backpacks, camouflage, trekking poles, knives, this and that, and to go jump back over to the hiking realm and the camping realm. I mean, to not have to purchase all that gear and have to store all that gear, it's a big deal.
The only reason that I am capable of contending with my friends that they're outdoorsmen, they're not hunters, they're not fishermen really, but they love the like backpacking in somewhere and camping for a couple nights or something on a weekend. The only reason that I can hang out with them is because of the amount of money I've spent on hunting.
Right.
That stuff translates into the backpack realm is the same way. I mean, you're not obviously needing to take as many knives and things like that, so you get a little lighter, but that's realistically, it would be hard for somebody that, I mean, for a lack of a better term, call them like a city slicker, where they live in the city. They
exactly,
they need to go out and spend, like Victoria said, at least $1,000 to have, I mean, somewhat of the essentials for it. And
that's right.
In this case, that's why they don't go out and do those things, is because they're like, well, exactly. I don't want to go spend all this money. I might
for one time.
I might do this once. I could hate it. You never know. So that, I mean, what RightOnTrek is doing with that's going to open up so much more.
And you know what, on top of that, when you're getting started, you actually have no idea what you need. So it's not even the money. You're probably going to spend it badly. So there is that. And then if you go and spend it, that gear is going to sit in your closet. It's going to get terribly underused. And eventually it's also going to end up in the landfills. So it's just really bad for environment. It's bad for consumer, wallet. It's, it's just bad.
Right. I guess like a question I have, and not in a negative way by any means, but let's say someone takes out your gear this summer and ruins it. What is the policy on that?
Yeah, so really good question. So two answers to that. There is kind of a normal wear and tear that's very much expected. And what we offer and include in a bundle is basically an insurance against that. We add 10% of the gear rental essentially for this kinds of accidents. Mm-hmm. And so as long as you're buying that insurance policy, if you will, normal wear and tear is simply going to be covered, and that's sufficient for us to repair, replace, and whatnot. Now, there's a different story if you just flat out lost something. Or we had a case where there was a group of college students on spring break that wanted to go to High Sierra, rented some latest, greatest stuff from us, and then did, pardon my French, brain dead things like they went early season, so it was cold. So in the evening, they would put up the fire, wrap themselves in the sleeping bags, sit next to the fire, and they burn, brand new $500 each sleeping bags.
Oh, wow.
If you're going to do something like that, we're going to charge you for the price of the ruined product.
Yeah, understandably so too. I mean, if you're, because I only ask because like I have a little bit of background in knowledge of like ATV side by side snowmobile rentals, and so I'm always curious at how anyone wants. And I think that you're kind of mainstreaming how anyone else would handle it in a good way.
Yeah, so it's a really good question. So when we pick our inventory, we obviously keep an eye towards how it will do in rentals. And it's important. Sometimes we can go, for example, the latest, greatest in ultralight backpacking is Cuban fiber, right, for the material, DCF fabrics. It's incredibly expensive, but we could deal with expense. Unfortunately, it's brittle, and you do this and put it in the hands of the customers, and that's not an equipment that they're own, right? And they're not expected to even know or care as much. It's not feasible to use these kinds of materials for rental. So we have to look at stuff that is fairly rugged, simple, hard to break, easy to replace. So we look at materials. We look at sustainability again as much as possible. We try to work with brands that are sustainable. I tell you what, my absolute dream is one day when RightOnTrek gear rental takes off in a big way and it becomes commodity, and we're dealing with really, really, really large volumes. I want to go and redesign technical gear completely from scratch in-house and design it to be basically a system, so that, the tent is designed to work with the mattress and designed to fit the backpack perfectly. And if we had a chance to do that we would select the right materials, we would design it to be field replaceable, right? Easy to clean, easy to replace piece which has frequent, wear and tears. None of it is a thing with the commercially available, technical gear today. So baby steps. First, we have to pick the best that we can find on the market today. And as we grow in scale, hopefully that will present opportunities for us to innovate on the gear market as well.
Well, and I think what you guys have going good for you, and I'm just assuming in a way here, is that you have a group of people that are, just the way you're talking, very passionate about outdoors and camping. And hiking and whatnot. So I think that, because a company could come together, design something like this, and put Walmart stuff, into a rental and whatnot. And I think what you're doing, in a way, you guys have an understanding. You're doing the adventures. You know what gear is going to work and what's going to make that adventure for that family, that person.
Everybody in the company is an outdoorsman. Everybody goes out. RightOnTrek was conceived when me and my friends were backpacking John Muir Trail some number of years ago, and we were all just talking about how horrendously difficult it was to plan this trip, and why aren't more people doing it, or how that's done. And so pieces by pieces, things have emerged from there. But when I go on my backpacking trips, I eat my food, I use my gear, I use my maps. We'll talk about the third piece, which is a software piece, in a moment. But yeah, we very much, in tech, there is this expression. It's a funny expression. It's meant very, virtually, if you will. It says, eat your own dog food. And in tech, that means use your own technology. If you're a database company, then use your own database, kind of a thing. If you're a tech company, use your own tech. But in the outdoors, we get to do this very literally. We get to use and eat our own dog food. I find it is so wonderful to be building something that me and my friends use every day.
No, that's awesome. I think that, like I said, the ability to share, because I don't know, let's say John comes out and he's never backpacked or anything like that, right? He could get turned into so many different directions on, reading stuff online, getting told by your buddy, whatever, and have a miserable experience. I think that what you're doing is setting up a high percentage chance for everybody to have a good time and keep coming back to the outdoors and enjoying what our region has to offer, really.
I definitely hope so. And then we're also partnering. So we're starting to partner with guides, because when guides are in business of taking people in the backcountry, but they have to assume that their clients have the gear, right? And their clients often don't. And the guides are very incentivized to make sure that the gear is latest, greatest, and most reliable. but they cannot really provide it to their clients. So it becomes both a barrier for clients to go on these kinds of trips and a problem for the guides, because you never quite know what kind of problem you're going to face with client bringing wrong or unreliable or whatever gear. So we think that we might actually quite a bit change guiding industry, because it'll be a lot easier to spin up a guiding service around specific expertise. And they can team up with us and basically just pass on the food and gear to us, right? We can provide white glove delivery. And it's one of the things that we are doing this year for the first time in 500 miles from Whitefish, Montana. And so that touches all of Montana, Oregon, Washington, Utah, Wyoming, maybe pieces of Colorado, I'm not sure. The things that we can actually get to like with a one-day drive, provided that the group of people is big enough. Like we're putting the bar at, I think, 32 man nights. So like 8 people going out for 4 days, or 6 people going for, like 5 days or something like that, to make it commercially viable. We'll actually bring all the food and equipment to the gearhead, to the trailhead, right? Outfit you, and then a week later come back and pick it all up. So these kinds of services, it's just not existent anywhere, and hopefully that's another way that will sort of lower the barrier. We're teaming up with organizations that take kids to the wilderness camps in the summertime, right? And again, we can take care of all the logistical parts and food and supplies and the gear, so that they can all focus on curation of the experience.
Yeah, I'd say that what's kind of a funny experience, not funny, but an interesting thing for Ramsey and I is that we were given a background in this kind of thing a little bit growing up, because we were in Boy Scouts, we're both Eagle Scouts. And so we got an introductory into backpacking, packing tents, meals, sleeping bags, stuff like that, which kind of sets us apart from our normal talk about hunting and fishing and stuff. But this is really fascinating to us. I mean, there's a little bit of what a little bit of research that we could do on our own about RightOnTrek. I mean, initially,
please go to RightOnTrek.com. You will find just a lot of information, and we've also been fortunate that a lot of people who've heard around about us, like they've like influencers and whatnot, they've reached out, and there's been an increasing array of coverage from just kind of a community, because it's so like different and innovative.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. I mean, let me go back real quick about,
Please.
I think that we've kind of been in talks about doing this podcast for pretty much 6 months now. As far as I've been talking to a connection of yours and trying to get this thing situated. And just in that short 6 months of keeping an eye on like what RightOnTrek is doing, it seems like, and I don't know if you guys noticed this too, but it seems like you guys have grown exponentially just in the last 6 months. It seems like social media wise.
6 months. Yeah, it has been. But you also have to put it in perspective. We're a super young company. We literally came out of stealth last year. So we've been working on that probably for 5, but the first like 3.5 years, it was just lab and experiments and taking focus groups of people out and just fine tuning product market fit. We only came out to market really like 14 months ago, like really like winter of last year is the first time that we really sort of, started to go to market. So we're very, very young, and it's super exciting to see the momentum for sure.
Have you seen, I mean, what are the biggest challenges starting a business in this type of industry with how your competitors have obviously been doing it for a while and things like that? I mean, what do you see is the biggest problem?
Let me take that question. Let me return to it in a minute, but I have not finished giving you a rundown of our products. And there's a third one that I need to talk to you about, because it's super exciting, it's very unique, and it really ties all the pieces together. And then I'll come back and discuss kind of what does it take to start a company like that? What's the, what's the roadmaps? What's the competition, if that's okay?
For sure.
So we talked about meals. We talked about gear rental. Now I want to talk about software. And, I'm a technologist at heart. I spent career in Silicon Valley. I've retired from Silicon Valley and moved to Montana. And I thought I will never do tech again, at least not pure tech. And I'll just hike mountains and that's the end of it. But I really don't know how to do retirement right. Anyways, long story short, Lots of expertise in big tech. I built a company that went public, one of the major tech companies these days. I don't know major, but tech company. Also build technologies for some of the biggest companies you can think of, Microsoft, Google, whatnot. And long story short on this, the way I think about the opportunities to really bring all sorts of services to where the recreation happens. Recreation happens outside the big cities, right? It happens in rural America. It happens in trail towns. It happens in the little trailheads. These are very small economies. They're in some sense very old-fashioned economies. If you are coming to Glacier National Park and you look at wilderness services, anything from hiring a guide, renting a kayak, going on a fishing, maybe charter, what have you. These are all small moms and pop shops, right? They're really not connected in the big internet in any way, in any big way. Internet is becoming better and better, but there's parts of it that are really super, super sketchy in terms of internet coverage. And yet this is where a major spend of consumer dollars on outdoor recreation are, right? And it's actually a very, very large number. My numbling number, something like $1 trillion economy is outdoor recreation.
Wow.
If you just look at the amount of money that is spent.
Jeez.
Anyways, where I'm going with this is that if you want to make it easier to go out and provide services, anything from food and gear rental, but then really giving people ability to plan their trip, invite their buddies, collaborate and chat about who is bringing what, figure out which permits do you need, like where do you rent a car, where do you park the car. There's just tremendous amount of logistics that are involved in all of this, which we want to automate. So that ultimately you get to get inspired about some amazing adventure that you want to go do, then go put all the pieces of that adventure together, in a modern web environment, if you will. Then invite a bunch of friends to come with you and then chat and collaborate and decide who is doing what. And then ultimately click a few buttons to procure things that you need, like rent equipment or maybe find a guide and buy food and the other stuff that you need. You kind of need a lot of software for that. And so we've been writing the software for a long time. And it starts with the notion of, I call it digitizing the wilderness. And if you think about cities infrastructure, the reason why, Amazon can deliver any product you want for you using Amazon Prime, or Uber Eats bring something to your door, within 90 minutes from you clicking some button, I want, pizza or ice cream. That's because long time ago, Google digitized every road, gas station, hotel, right? Mm-hmm. Like there's deep databases that capture all of this. And if you wanted to take a road trip, I don't know, from Montana to, Bay Area, California, you just go to Google Maps and you say, I want to start here, I want to end there. And it's going to draw the road for you. And you know how long it takes, and all the stops, and all the gas stations, restaurants, and hotels, right? And all that logistics can be laid out for you. And the reason why that's possible is because Google sort of digitized civilized world. But the recreational world has not been digitized. Google certainly haven't done that. So there is no databases that actually tells you, if you're going to be in this place, it's the grizzly bear country. You need to have such and such things with you. And here is a park that has such and such rules, and you can have a campsite, or you cannot. You can have a campfire, or you cannot. Ranger station opens, this time of the year on these hours, and there is a restroom in this particular place, or there isn't, right? Done this yet, but we're very excited. Right around May, we are releasing what we call Wilderness Studio. And it's a set of applications and tools that will allow people to go online and just really get inspired by multi-day itineraries of cool adventures that they can go do, and tools where they can put them together almost as easily as you can put a road trip, with Google Maps. And then explore, thousands and thousands of points of interest and wilderness objects around you. And then create trip plans, and then invite your buddies and kind of do all the planning using the studio. So that's like the third big piece. It's not quite been even publicly released yet. I don't think anybody have seen this or really talked to us about this yet, but like give us another 2 to 3 months. And now this piece is going to come together. And if you kind of follow my logic a little bit and give me credit, but we'll do a good job of building this wilderness studio. Now you can see how pieces of the full vision is coming together. Because the hope is that let's just say, urban family in Chicago, husband loves hunting and fishing, wife is into trail running. They have boys that like to bike in the summertime and ski in the wintertime, and they're active and they love to go to different national parks and go do stuff. So they can have a platform right on track where they go to find amazing adventures and find these exciting itineraries, or with a few clicks, put them together for themselves. And then they can, invite their buddies. And frankly, the platform probably already knows, the shoe size of the husband and the fact that the wife is, vegan, and whatever, boys are vegetarian. And so they can put together their meals, they can put together their gear packages, and just select the next recreation area and adventure, and with a few clicks arrange everything that they need. Then come drive to the edge, pick up the stuff that they need, go have a fantastic time, return everything, and 6 months from now, rinse and repeat. That's really kind of the full vision that we are working towards. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the coolest thing that you were explaining there is basically what Google has done for the cities and like the interstates and all that stuff. The only way that you can get the information that you need for a current trailhead or multiple trailhead locations is you actually have to drive to the site, and you'll see the big sign that will give you the list of everything that you need to know for that area. So that makes a whole lot of sense to be able to, because somebody that would go out and not know the area they're wanting to, explore that weekend, they would have to drive all the way out there and then figure out exactly what they need in order to come back if it's a bear area or something like that. So that is super smart, because then people can come prepared and not have to make an extra trip, or not want to explore a new area because they don't know anything about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're partnering with Leave No Trace. So, for example, amongst other organizations. So if we know that you are building basically a plan in a specific area, then we're actually going to put very, very specific information, anything from the packing list to a specific Leave No Trace instructions of how do you do this safely. The next step, we're partnering with organizations who will bring us safety content, like, for example, bear safety videos. If we actually know that you're trekking through a black bear populated area, we'll give you one set of instructions. But if we know that you're going to the grizzly country, that's a whole other story. And we're going to make sure that we include not only basic education, but like bear spray, right, in your standard gear kit, stuff like that.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, that's super, super smart. I mean,
it takes the guesswork out of everything.
It does. I mean, it's either, what do? You an area that you don't know and you're going to hike at, do you just pack everything in every scenario possible and, take 2.5, 3 hours to pack the car up, or
not pack enough,
or not pack, the bear spray? Like, I'm going to this trailhead over in this area. I've never been there before. I don't know if there's bears there or not. I don't really feel like bringing my bear spray, or something like, I mean, that's kind of exaggerated, but in that same instance, it makes a lot of sense, because if that area has a lot of rain or something, make sure to bring the rain cover for the tent. Like, things
absolutely.
Like that.
Or if you're a desert and water sources in that time of the year is unreliable, that's a whole bigger problem. Then you need to have a lot more water, or you have to deal with water caching. That's a whole other thing. So yeah, depending on where you are, high desert, high snow year, high water, dangerous water crossing, whatever the case might be, there's just so much that's involved in safe recreation in the wilderness that stuff like that matters a lot. And I don't know of anybody who have had quite the ambitions that we do. So cutting back to competition, right? And how do you do this is a huge mission. So I don't think we really straight out have competitor or somebody who has a very similar vision, right? I'm kind of doing this because nobody else does. And I think it takes putting all these pieces together to really solve the problem kind of end to end. But then we have individual products. And within a realm of individual product, of course, we have competition. Meals is probably the most straightforward thing. There's other meal vendors. So we just have to compete to make sure that our product just better in every way. The gear is really interesting. Our biggest challenge with gear rental isn't competition, because it doesn't exist. Gear rental is not a commodity. There are little stores that will rent you, a little bit here and there in the local shops. But as an industry, this doesn't exist. It's more of a demand creation. It's more like educating people that that's even possible, right? Because most of them don't know. So many times I hear the story that people come to Glacier National Park on vacation. They don't go camping because they're like, well, yeah, I have a camping equipment, but I mean, it's back home in Maryland. I didn't bring it here. Well, you can rent everything. It's like, huh? I never heard of this, right? So they don't know what they don't know. That has not become a piece of commoditized infrastructure. So, building it and educating people that you could actually go do that is probably our biggest challenge here.
I could definitely see that, because I mean, like we said, it just makes more people want to be involved in the outdoors and things like that. And I can see where that could be difficult to try and, figure out all the small details revolving around it. Like Riley said about the, having an insurance in a way for, damaged items, things like that. And then obviously just knowing what somebody's going to need in that area that they have, booked. That, I mean, you never know what everybody's different opinions and needs are. But I think it's really cool that you guys,
even in like personally, like between me and you, when we go up to the mountains, how often do we go and we're like, all right, we need to make a list of everything we need, and we still get out there and we're like, I mean, we've been doing this for years and we're still like, dang, we forgot this, or wow, we brought way too much stuff.
right?
I mean, even as an experienced outdoorsman, it would be something I'd look to and be like, well, what do these guys think? What do they think that I need?
Right.
And it just gives you a hub for all of that.
Yeah, we even make some products. We back to meals. So we make dinners and breakfast at home, so to speak. In our facility. But we also make these day kits. I wish I actually had them around me. I sort of don't have one to grab. I should have thought about this, and then I could have dangled it. But essentially, it's a mesh bag. And in that mesh bag is everything somebody needs in a day. So it's a hot breakfast and hot dinner, but it's also bars, snacks, jerky, whatever the case might be. It's designed to be around 2,500 calories. And it's sort of one thing that you could grab and go. And it's got everything you need for a day. And we make 10 different varieties of these things. So literally one of the things that you could do, heading out, the entire meal preparation boils down to, I'm going for 5 days. I'm going to grab these 5 bags. 4 of us are going, let me grab 20 bags, right? And like, it's good stuff. It's well engineered. I mean, if you had foresight, you can go to our website. You can plan every facet of it. But alternatively, just grab 5 different bags, and you're probably going to be very, very pleased with the experience. And then the next piece of it, we have what we call Wilderness Essentials. It's the similar mesh bag that contains close to 20 items that you simply need to have there. Anything from a biodegradable soap to a lip balm, spare batteries for your headlights. I won't even list all the things like sunscreen, bug net, like all the things, like you said, you probably have thought about and forgot about half of them.
Yeah.
We haven't. We put this together. It costs whatever, 45 or 50 bucks. You just grab one per person and you're like done. Every backcountry essential that you ever needed out there is just covered.
It sounds like, in a way, that the mission statement for RightOnTrek is everything you'll ever need in the outdoors. I mean,
That's right.
That sounds incredible. I mean, there's a lot of things.
Enabling people to have, that's literally what it is. It's enabling people to have transformative experiences for people of all walks of life and experiences, and come back with zero environmental impact.
For sure.
I think
That's the mission right there.
I think there's a very real possibility that in the next couple of years, that when you think of outdoor recreation, one of the main ones that's going to come to mind is RightOnTrek. I mean, it's going to be, if you guys accomplish your vision, I don't see why this wouldn't be I don't know how to explain this, like as big as like the Cabela's of outdoor, or
for
like overtaking the outdoor industry. It's such an interesting concept.
Well, thank you very much. I hope you're right. That's definitely like the big dream is precisely that. And I'm very pleased that doing this for 5 years, which it sounds like a big time, but it really isn't, given how big the mission is and how capital expensive something like that would be. And we have to figure out how to do that like very frugally in baby steps. I did not go out and raise, I don't know, gazillion of money. We're just doing this, frugally, smartly. We have relatively small team given to how much has been accomplished. The meals are taking off. My hope is that within a couple of years, we can be, profitable enough of the meals that we can just continue to self-fund ourselves on that mission.
Exactly. Yeah. So before we go to like a favorite segment of ours where we're just going to rapid question you, I'd like to get a little background on you yourself. What brought you to this passion for the outdoors? And I mean, there had to be a point, we usually talk to people, interviews and whatnot, and it seems like a lot of their life-changing adventure and following their passions happened in their like mid-20s, early 20s. And I'd just like to know, like, what was that point for you to where you started following your passions and became, you spoke earlier about, you started many businesses and stuff like that. Let's get a story on that.
There's definitely a story. Yeah, there's a story in the pivotal moments. Yeah, happy to tell you about myself. So I grew up in Lithuania on the shores of Baltic Sea. Very pretty country. My father and mother, loved the outdoors. I would go fishing with my dad. I would go foraging for mushrooms and berries with my mom. I'd spend endless summers, going through school doing this stuff. So, we'd camp a lot. So I kind of grew up loving all these things. And then adult life had zero room for any of that. I got married very early. I was 18. I had a kid at 19. Soviet Union sort of collapsed right around that time. The whole Iron Curtain sort of, came down hard. It was kind of amazing thing to watch. We had opportunity to leave the country, right before Soviet Union collapsed and come to America as political refugees. And so me, my husband, and then 2.5 months daughter, we came to Cleveland, Ohio in 1991. And outdoors was the farthest things of my mind for a number of reasons. There was, hard survival, then going through school, raising kids, building up, tech career, moving to Detroit at some point in time, started my career in automotive industry. And then my husband really wasn't very outdoorsy. Our summer vacations, as we started to do better in life and kids were coming up and we were able to take vacation and had some money to go do stuff, we would go to Hawaii and, my family would lay on the beach or on the pool and I would go nuts. I was so bored. So I'd go fishing. One of my funnest experience was catching blue marlin off the coast of Hawaii. That was another one of these amazing moments in life. But anyhow, I always wanted to find my way back, but just life sort of didn't present many choices. And we have to go back about 7 or 8 years ago. Oh wow, maybe even less. When was 2017? That wasn't that long ago, actually. Oh wow, really not that long ago. Anyways, I found myself being just in a very bad headspace myself. Ultimately, after 22 years, I've gone through divorce. That was hard. And also after, close to 30 years of kind of a big tech, coming off the effort of building the big tech company that ended up going public, sleeping 3.5 hours a day for 6 hours straight. I just have a breakdown at the time. So it was just a very difficult few years trying to recover from that. And I was looking for inspiration. I had no idea where to find it, but accidentally in the spring of 2017, I just heard through the grapevine that 3 of my much younger friends from tech company Grid Dynamics that I was building and running at the time, they won a permit to John Muir Trail, and they were going to go hike this 230-mile High Sierra track. And I heard about this accidentally, and something about this just completely stuck. I think I needed inspiration in my life. Now, mind you, I have not backpacked to this point at all. I haven't been probably physically active for 30 years at that point in time. But I just got intrigued, and I went and I talked to them about, what is it? And they, patiently explained to me, what is High Sierra and what is backpacking. I was actually involved in doing John Muir Trail. They won the permit, which is very difficult to win, for 4 people, and there were 3 of them, and they were kind of looking for the fourth partner. Obviously, nobody in 1,000 years would think about me, but there was just something about this that just ignited a spark. And there was still 5 months to go till the trip. And I asked if it was possible, within the realms of possibility, if I started training athletically, that I could get the 4th seat. Everybody was super skeptical, but said sure. And they kind of gave me 2 months to try to get in shape. And go then on a kind of a trial hike to see if we could do 17 miles with a 35-pound backpack, doing whatever for 4,000 feet of elevation. So I just got really motivated, and I started just every day going out and climbing any mountain that I could see. I lived in the Bay Area at the time, so there was actually plenty. And 2 months later, sure enough, I kind of passed the test, and they said fine. And I continued to train. And then in August 2017, we went and had the John Muir Trail experience, and that was completely life-changing. I got kind of hooked. That did actually help me kind of find my way back to all good things, and get mentally healthy, get physically healthy, find new success in business at the time, help take company public. But then I become kind of obsessed with becoming a competent mountaineer. And for the next, 5 years or so, I was working still full time as an entrepreneur, but I was hiking about 1,000 miles a year, sleeping about 30 nights in a tent, climb Kilimanjaro, climb some big mountains in Peru, tracked in gates of the Arctic and polar Alaska, found my way to northern Patagonia, and it was very much kind of life transformative. And somewhere along this journey, I started to wonder, why don't more people do this? It's so healing, it's so liberating, it's so empowering, and that's kind of how I ended up coming up with RightOnTrek.
Wow, that's an amazing story. I was stuck glued to the screen there for a second, listening out. That was
I almost
great.
forgot I was on a podcast
I
there
know.
for a minute.
Yeah, I was watching a movie.
It's crazy to think that you weren't you were not really into backpacking or anything. And 5 years ago is when you kind of got into it. It's
my first backpacking trip was John Muir Trail, as insane as it sounds. Yes.
it's cool though, because you obviously built that passion for it so fast, and I think the 3 of us kind of share that with different aspects of hunting. I think we kind of all just one day when the 3 of us were together, we kind of just clicked and we're like, this is so addicting. I never want to stop. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that we've talked about this before with other guests. Once the outdoors hooks you and you can let yourself succumb to the spiritualness of what it brings to you, it's like nothing else on this planet. I think personally.
Definitely.
I kind of have a theory about this, and I have no idea if it's correct from scientific perspective or not. But having gone through the same experience, basically being a complete city dweller, couch potato. And again, I do go back that I had different childhood, right? It definitely smells of, campfire smells of childhood for me. And that's very, very important. I think if we have privilege of experiencing these things as we grow up, it kind of sticks with you throughout life. But for all intents and purposes, as an adult, this was really not part of my life at all, and I was immersed in it very very rapidly. And what I think I discovered is that I think as sort of a biological machines, as species, we are built for sort of a trail life, right? Evolutionarily, we are designed to spend a day, walking from a place to a place, and then, put up the camp and, spend the night there and pick up in the morning and go somewhere. A lot of our biological machinery is still very much designed to do that. And it's completely unused in a civilized life, right? We put ourselves where our lifestyles have evolved much faster than our biological machinery had a chance to adopt. So when we discover our way back to wilderness, something incredibly primal happens. We sort of come home in ways which are completely unexpected, because we and maybe generations, maybe millennials of my predecessors haven't done that, but it's still somewhere deep in my genes. At least it feels that way, because the minute my car arrives to the trailhead, when I'm in the car driving to the trailhead, I'm still the civilized me. But the minute I come down and I put my hiking clothing and I put my backpack and I lock my car and I step on the trail, I always think like I pass through some kind of a portal into Narnia. and now, Narnia is a wonderful place to be. And the trail life is just absolutely addictive, and it's so pure. And it's such a happy place. And eventually we have to come down from the trailhead and take that backpack off and open the car and sit in it. And now we are back to civilization. But having this ability to transport ourselves to Narnia is just such an empowering and healing experience. Yeah. At least that's how I feel about it.
For sure. Because I can definitely relate on the kind of a quick created passion. Like I grew up not really hunting. I was more of like a fisherman every once in a while, and it was 5 years ago that I really got into hunting. And it was especially that moment in archery season when you get up and you're in, the middle of the mountains with screaming elk everywhere and things like that. Like, it struck such a chord with me that it's like the addiction to it it's great. It's a great feeling to have that much passion and be able to build that passion so fast. And that's kind of where I've taken to like where I'm at now is, like you said, it is spiritual. I mean, it really is.
Well, and I would take our naps out. Sean and I have talked many times that we've been sitting on some water sources in the middle of the woods waiting for whatever animal we're going after. And we end up sleeping there for 6 hours or something like that. I'll take that. I'll take sleeping in the woods, under the trees over anything any day of the week.
For sure. It's
yeah.
I don't know if there's a feeling that can beat it in a sense. I mean, everybody always says it. The word's overused in the hunting realm, but the camaraderie that it builds within people is great. It really is.
Yeah, one of my huge pleasures these days, now that I live in the northern Montana, at the foothills of the Glacier National Park. Actually, funny enough, I don't go backpacking in a park in the summertime very much. It's very competitive. Permits are impossible to get. Lots of people. For many reasons. If I have some time, I'll go to Bob Marshall Wilderness or something like that. But then there is this marvelous time of winter, right? Winter in Montana is just absolutely spectacular. Winter in the mountains. I've got to really, really love mountains in the winter. So I'm actually one of very few people who do this. I don't know why, but I every season I would go, as often as I can, for multiple days into Glacier National Park in a winter time. And you have to apply for wilderness permit. And when I do that, I go with a friend and a guide, a local guide, Greg Fortin. We're always the only ones. So we'd literally be the only people in the entire Glacier National Park for a day or a week. And you go out there and there's no footprints. There is only wolf prints, elk prints, moose prints, I don't know, mountain lion prints, bunnies that hop around everywhere. And you're just there in a complete gorgeous, like undescribable solitude with nature and animals. And it's just, I don't know, it's just amazing.
There's a lot of the population that has never witnessed what you were just explaining.
Yeah, I think and I always talk about this too, and this relates to, I guess, hunting more than anything, but there's a lot of things that happen, like you were talking about elk screaming in the wilderness and stuff like that. That's something obviously you can experience without hunting, but think about the percentage of the people in the world that get to experience something like that, like you were just talking, Victoria. I would say it's got to be less than 10? Like 3%. I think it's lower than 10. They get to actually experience that kind of beautiful, amazing experience
where you're kind of
maybe winter and maybe winter overnight in Montana is not for everybody, and maybe it should be, for less than 1% of the population. But everybody can put on the snowshoes, right, and go experience these hills, for a day. And the barrier to that is literally zero. Experience is life-changing, and people don't do this for sort of what I think are very silly reasons. There is no infrastructure to do that, and I kind of think of packaging wilderness as, it might sound very cheesy, but sort of packaging as a consumer product. Something that vast number of people actually have a way of consuming, engaging, executing, having fun, doing it safely. It's truly life-changing, and it's mission that was worth for me to come out of retirement for.
Absolutely.
And I really do think that what your guys' system that you're creating is kind of going to be,
it's world changing.
It is, because realistically I feel like the other 99% that don't get to experience, or whatever the number is, that don't get to experience,
I may have been a little low,
but I mean, in that sense, I feel like the main reason why they don't do it is, or say that they don't like it, is because they don't have the experience. They don't know what to expect, and they're scared.
Exactly.
They don't know what to do. And in this case, that's why it's so versatile what RightOnTrek is doing.
Well, let's say RightOnTrek as a whole. You package everything, so you're going to get your food, your rental, and everything else combined. I mean, your total has to be like very, very affordable for the everyday person. I mean,
it's designed to be super affordable. We work really, really hard. We really, like, you look at our meals, we could have priced it as a premier gourmet product and charge whatever, probably 2x. And market definitely can bear it. But the thing is that you do things like that, and it does cross threshold of affordability. The folks who want to enjoy outdoors largely doing it because they don't want to pay for the cruise, right? They don't want to go on expensive whatever, beach vacation. The outdoors should be simple to access and quite affordable to people of all walks of life. So we work really, really hard to try to figure out what are really the pricing envelopes that we can support while still having a business on our side that is just a kind of a mass product for, everybody or almost everybody. And it forces us to make some tough choices in terms of, what kinds of things that we could do, what kind of services we can provide. Hopefully we're walking that line, just fine. But yeah, I think it's very, very essential that you don't have to spend a huge amount of money. I mean, there's a glamping market, right? There are people who are happy to, spend whatever, $500 a day on a, super luxurious, camping experience. There's a place for that as well. But it certainly doesn't have to be. So how can we make, the most of the beautiful public land that we get to enjoy in, in this beautiful country, just much more accessible?
Definitely.
It does not have to cost much. It's much more about just putting pieces of the puzzle together and removing the hassle, removing the risk, removing the unknown, just packaging it so that you can enjoy it and be safe doing so. A lot of stories that I hear why people sort of, in my 20s, as you said, I try backpacking. Like my boyfriend took me once while they had a wrong backpacks. They overloaded it by a factor of 2 or 3. They didn't have any fun. They had whatever, they tore their muscles. They had wrong shoes, right? The whole experience was completely miserable. They got wet, and the takeaway from it is like never again.
Right.
Right.
And I think almost in the sense of kind of your locker idea is it's almost like a training for for the percent of population that people that may not have the experience is why they're using this service from RightOnTrek. And you like to think that people have that common sense that if you were to throw these essential items in, that they get there and they would know what they're for and things like that. And it's almost like learning by trial and error, which is an incredibly easy way for somebody to be able to go in, figure out, oh, that didn't work that way. Let's go back, let's try it again. The next time they do it, they'll never forget how to use that specific piece of equipment on whatever outdoor experience they're doing. And so it's also a training in a sense, if you think about it.
I hope so. I hope a lot of education does happen. And again, going back to kind of teaching people good habits, I want to make it easier to be a good citizen, leave no trace, be right away taught how to use your public lands responsibly, and like provide all the pieces that are just designed to work well, than trying to recover of somebody who just developed horrible habits because they just didn't know any better.
Right. I think that what is kind of interesting and something to bring up here, I thought it was funny when I was speaking with the connection that we had. They had said that, well, it might be hard to talk to Victoria about what she does because she's more centralized on, RightOnTrek is more outdoor, hiking and stuff like that, and you guys are more hunting and fishing. And I'm like, I couldn't disagree with that statement anymore. I think that we're doing the exact same thing with just different mission points. I think that I'm doing, like, we're so similar in a way of how we pack our gear, how we set up our adventures, how we enjoy the outdoors. I think that hunting and fishing is so much in line with what you do.
And I love the fact that hunters actually are embracing our meals. I mean, that's the most kind of a ready product for them. We have people from a hunting community that just rave about the product and use it repeatedly. And I think it's just fantastic. I myself can relate to like fishing more than hunting. They're not terribly dissimilar. It's just one I have personal experience with and another I don't. But I also see as we continue to grow, we're kind of starting from backpacking, camping, because these things are frankly, you have to start from somewhere. The mission is big enough that you have to kind of have a beachhead somewhere. And I just have a lot more personal experience in this than other sports. But we very much envision our platform to grow to be very multi-sport. So we want to support the biking, the skiing, the rafting, use of waterways have a lot of similarities. People who go on the sailing trips, they use exactly the same food in exactly the same way. So there's a lot of similarities. We want to be able to extend our studio for people to put together multiple, like multi-sport itineraries where one day they'll go fishing and one day they will go rafting and one day they'll go do something else. And when it comes to rental of equipment, we're kind of seeding this business by having inventory of our own. But I could totally see opening up our reservation system and smart lockers to other type of equipment. And maybe there are people who are renting hunting sets, and maybe there are people who are renting fishing sets. And people will be able to rent, kayaks or snowmobiles or whatever the case might be, and then use our smart locker infrastructure, right, for delivery and pickup in the same way. And if we do, then we become more of a maybe marketplace of outdoor recreation services. And that would be very cool with me as well. That's very aligned with the overall vision.
I for sure could see.
I think that's really genius because myself, I'm a hunting guide, so it would be interesting for me to be able to have some sort of avenue to where, I got 4 guys coming in from Massachusetts or something like that have no Montana backpacks, clothing, whatever, to set them straight up for a small fee, and they're comfortable and set up, and I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to. We're starting to partner with people, and we are partnering with people who are renting jeeps, and we are partnering with companies who are in the overland business. And we're starting to partner with guides. And we're starting to partner with a company that is doing ski rental which great, let allow people to rent skis in the wintertime and pick them up from our lockers as long as this other company wants to deliver their skis into the locker, right, for the customers. And so, in the same vein, if somebody were, renting a, archery equipment, I have no idea if it's a thing, but if there was a thing, then somebody could have a business, renting that equipment and taking people out. And then others can come from out of state and just have a hunting vacation and not having to have any pieces of the infrastructure, and we can facilitate.
Yeah, no, I think
I could see that being very beneficial for a hunting guide stance, because like if you think about like the extra money you spend by, having your carry-on and flying with rifles and things like that. Rifles might be a little bit of a hard scenario.
Yeah, I think guns might be, a one-off on all of this. I don't know all the gun laws, but imagine like that piece you probably want to have your own, but a lot of other stuff you don't. It's just again, just be a commodity high quality.
For sure, and it would lessen your price of your carry-on on that flight, like not bringing that backpack full of, 40, 50 pounds and being able to have all that.
No, I think it's very interesting. I think that because like when we think of like how we're designing our company, it's got stepping stones for a vision that we have down the road. And so it's kind of fun to listen to something very similar.
Always have to.
And so yeah, I mean, it's cool to see a company out there that's really trying to take over not really take over, but really broaden the landscape of what's available.
Well, and we kind of do the same thing for sure within B&B is there's other companies that are doing very well that are doing the same thing that we're doing that kind of started the the trend. And we kind of are always like, well, they did this other company did that. We're like, what could we do different? And that's always kind of how we try and operate at B&B. And it's really,
what can we do different and what can we do better?
Right.
How can we make it more efficient?
Yeah, and maybe off the record, Victoria, we'll share our end goal vision for this because it's actually very different than what most people would think. But yeah, so with that being said, is there anything else with RightOnTrek or anything that you want to say before we dive in? This is kind of just a fun thing we do at the end where we get to kind of just go around the room and ask you questions that might not be super not unprofessional, but like, I might ask you like what trip or I'll just start it right now if you have nothing else to say about RightOnTrek or yourself.
Ask me about some of the other hobbies. While you're at it, I'll gladly talk about some other stuff that has nothing to do with RightOnTrek or outdoors.
Okay, well let's get it. Let's get it going then. My first question for you is: do you have a trip planned this year that you are most looking forward to in 2023?
I had several trip plans. I don't know how many of them I'll be able to do because, unfortunately, my mom sort of got her health deteriorated, and I'm now somewhat worried about going off for a long time off the grid. I was supposed to be in Patagonia in January, and I ended up scraping that. There's a hope of going back to Alaska for a week or so in August. I really hope it holds.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'm sorry to hear about your mom, but Alaska is something that we've been talking about too. That sounds like a good time.
So I guess my question would be, out of all of the trips that you've done, do you have a single favorite that just resonated with you? Like, yeah, this was the trip.
Different trips for different reasons, but I could tell you the most magical moment that have ever happened to me in the mountains. And this was 2 summers ago in Brooks Range in Gates of the Arctic National Park. A group of, I think 7 or 8 of us were trekking for a week. And it was the day before last one. We were in some remote canyon following the river. And all of a sudden, it's kind of a narrow canyon, very much in Alaska. You'll find the canyon, there's a river, and then 2 mountain ranges, and you're trying to navigate that canyon. And it's fairly narrow, and at some point in time, we see this big rock in the middle of the canyon. And all of a sudden on that rock, we see a giant white wolf. Like one wolf, large, big, just completely white. staying there and looking at us. And of course, we froze and Wolf froze. And then Wolf started to make, kind of a very iconic noises, howling. And the next thing that we see is pups, little pups crawling all over that stone. And half of them were gray and half of them were white. We could see that. And we figured out that it was a mother and it was a den. And, she kind of got her brood into the den. Then she turned around and barked at us. And I've never even known that wolves can bark. And I went later researching. It was kind of fascinating. I never heard of that, but she was clearly telling us to stay away. And right at that moment, a rainbow came out, and it kind of encircled this white wolf. So we're standing there in the middle of absolute nowhere, looking at a giant white wolf talking to us in the center of a rainbow. I mean, if that's not a fairy tale, I just don't know what is.
No, that is a beautiful setting.
That's
a beautiful setting. I've experienced similar things in the outdoors, but yeah, that's amazing. What do you got, Sean?
Jeez. Do you have, so you've obviously done several different types of backpacking trips. Do you have somewhat, when you're preliminary planning for these, is there like a mild distance, an elevation change, things like that you stay away from, or is it all pretty consistent?
Yeah, there's stuff that I can do, and I know that I try to shoot for kind of a 90 percentile of what I think is stretch but doable, right? If it's on a sustainable basis. And what it is changes a lot with like my personal fitness. Like right now, it's nowhere near where I wish it were, because it was just, and from COVID, like a lot of things have done downhill, and I've done a lot less than I wish I did. Looking for ways to kind of get back, but in a peak shape, things were getting better and better and better, so I could do more and more and more. So yeah, like depending on where I am and what the terrain is and what the elevation is and what the weight back is, I will be looking at maybe it's 15 miles, maybe it's 17 miles, maybe a day, maybe in some cases 20. So I'll be looking at the blend of the things. I like to move fast. I'd like to do maximum amount of distance in the shortest amount of time. So depending on like physical shape and the complexity of the terrain, I'll try to pick as ambitious of the itinerary as I can pull off, but it also has to be safe. So I spend a lot of time thinking about contingencies. I had enough accidents in the mountains where I know very well that if I'm planning expedition in a mountain range, I need to know what emergency exits are. I need to know where the nearest hospital is. I need to know what the evacuation routes are and whatnot. I think things happen in the backcountry.
For sure, and I don't think a lot of people take notice to those small details that are, well, they're not small details, but in a sense they are to your trip, but they are very important. I feel like a lot of people can lack on that.
Absolutely. I think that
I did a lot of, as my confidence grew, so did the desire for more maybe intense or exotic trips. And sometimes I could find companions and sometimes I couldn't. So I've done a lot of solo trips over the years, and I like it. But there is a higher degree of sort of consequence of mistake or injury or something like that if you're solo. So you need to be even more prepared.
Absolutely. I think that we talk about it all the time. The positives to having the camaraderie with the group too is a major plus too. I guess my next question for you is, man, I had a really good one lined up and I just totally lost it. You guys might have to save me from this one.
So I guess, what is your toughest trip been?
Physically, the most exhaustive by far was climbing Kilimanjaro. So I've done it pretty early in my, in my career. I mean, it's legitimately difficult trip because the elevation is so high. And I also got sick. It's a 6-day trip, and on a second day I got like a stomach bug. So I couldn't eat and couldn't drink, and it just all adds up. So the the last 2 days, the climb to the high camp, and then the actual climb from a high camp, which is about 15,000 feet to the summit, which is about 19,000 feet. So you're climbing about 4,000 feet with very little oxygen and little sleep, exhaustion, whatnot. That definitely was physically the most demanding.
It's crazy.
So, with that being said, you've climbed Kilimanjaro. Is Everest in the cards or no?
Everest is definitely not. There's nothing that I want to have anything to do with actual climb of Everest. There was a time that I wanted to climb every other kind of these 6 peaks. I was very enamored with the idea of climbing the Venice Massif, which is the highest point in Antarctica, which is a whole other set of skills that's required. Honestly, I don't know if that's in the cards. I sort of haven't been. I've been off the training schedule for the last 2 years that's required to be able to do that. So yeah, I wanted to do Denali. I wanted to do Aquakanga. I don't know if I'll get to do these things. I definitely want to do a long distance backpacking trip. The COVID year was supposed to be my PCT through hike year. That didn't happen. And now, honestly, that was all when I thought I'm retiring. Well, this is not retirement. And this is also not the only thing that I do professionally, run this company. So it's just not in the cards to go disappear for a long time, at least not for another few years. But maybe someday I'll figure out how to retire right and go back and implement some of the plans.
All right, so I've remembered what I was going to ask. You were hinted on the fact that you have some other hobbies. What are they?
Yeah, so much like I discovered mountains late in life and became huge love and obsession, about a year and a half ago, I discovered new life and fashion in love, and that's a high stakes poker.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
That wasn't all right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've sort of discovered that whole world of competitive tournament poker, and I've got completely in love with this. I've since been learning the game. I have to say that competes with my outdoors time too, unfortunately, because poker tournaments are intense. They go over a long period of time, and I have been doing that, and it's become a big thing. I think as of today, I'm number one female in the world in poker.
Oh,
No
man.
kidding.
Holy cow.
Yeah, at least for the time being. In 2023 standing, but the year obviously just started. Somewhere in the top 100 with men, and the goal is to obviously go keep going and hopefully compete with the best of them for the highest of stakes.
Wow, that was a fact that I didn't even think was going to happen.
I couldn't even have.
That's awesome.
That is incredible. Wow.
You may be the most interesting person we've had on this podcast.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot of interest in in one sense, outdoors and poker. You could say, how can you be in more polarly different things? But I would actually say while the media is very different, they're both very mindful experience. It's kind of all consuming. These are two types of Narnias.
Right.
Whereas, or maybe outdoors is Narnia for me, and poker is kind of a Hogwarts, Harry Potter land, full of wizards, right? And you wave your magic wand and you try to outsmart other wizards. But they're both super magical experiences. They kind of take you from the real life in the realm of this incredibly magical, different life. Both are ambitious and require different skills. They absorb you completely. They're, to me, very mindful, activities, and they're both just incredible fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. Rams, you guys got anything else lined up?
I think I'm all questioned out.
I am. That was
Well, not only. So, are you doing like World Series of Poker then? Like, is
Yeah,
that-
absolutely.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
so cool.
I hope so. I just came from Paris. I got to win a big tournament there. That was exciting. Yeah, I still hope that in the summertime I get to go play. I'll play in the World Series of Poker, and then there's a big tournament in Barcelona. And I'd love to figure out how to do maybe Swiss Alp trip, right, with some backpacking, and combine it with poker trip. I don't know how that will work out, but I'm cooking some ideas.
Wow.
Heck yeah.
I will definitely be watching.
Yeah, I know. I'd be like,
World Series
wow.
of Poker.
Hey, it's Victoria on TV.
I've been on a few televised final tables, so yeah, you keep watching.
Yeah,
Well, now I see we're gonna probably be on the YouTube after this, looking up.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean, you can't have a hunting camp without having poker at it. So I mean,
That's
that's
true.
something we
Absolutely.
find interesting.
Yeah, there
too.
you go. Right, it's not called Texas Hold'em for nothing. Yeah.
that's right.
I mean, I think that that's a perfect way to finish this up. I think that this has been quite honestly one of my top
phenomenal.
5 easily
Yeah.
For
interviews that we've ever had. Victoria, thank you for
Wonderful.
coming
Thank
on.
you so much for having me.
Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
my pleasure. Thank you.
Is there
Hope to
anything?
stay in touch.
Is there anything we could plug for you? I mean, obviously, your website is it RightOnTrek.com?
Yeah, check out RightOnTrek.com. Biomeals, Triomeals. Look, we now have a crazy sales. We are liquidating all the 2022 meals inventory so we can create space for 2023. It's the same things, just the packaging slightly changed. So it's just an incredible deal. Give it a try. You might discover, your new favorite way to eat. Definitely. And then if you're planning any sort of active adventure, active vacation in northern Montana, please stop by the Edge. Check this out. Give us a holler. Say hello. And then definitely check out. In 2 months, we'll be releasing Wilderness Studio. It's going to be completely free. I needed to say that our plan is to give all of our software for free. So yeah, check it out and see if you get inspired to go do some fun things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll have everything that she just spoke about linked in the bio below. For now, I think we're going to end it here. Victoria, we'll speak to you a little bit more when we're done here. But for as far as the podcast goes, everybody check out.
Right on track.
I'm trying to think. We're got so many B&B stuff going on. Maybe I'll just talk about it. We're gonna talk about it in a little bit afterwards. How does that sound?
Yeah.
We'll talk about our stuff later. Thank you, Victoria. Check out Right on Trek. And as always, we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Later. Thanks for listening to another episode of Bull Mountain Brothers.
Hey, if you're looking for more Bull Mountain Brothers, be sure to follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Bull_Mountain_Brothers and Facebook and YouTube at Bull Mountain Brothers.
Also, don't forget to check out our B&B store at bullmountainbrothers.com, where you can find some super sweet deals on some seasonal merchandise and outdoor gear.